Hello everyone, welcome back to the sbre. In today's video, we're taking a look at the 2012 fantasy movie The Hobbit, An Unexpected Journey, starring Martin Freeman, adapted from a book written by J.R.R Tolkien. It's a story about a hobbit who goes on an unexpected journey with 13 dwarves and a magician to reclaim a kingdom that was forcefully taken away from them by a mighty dragon named Smaug. But adventures are never so easy, not when you have enemies that are hunting you down to kill you. Watch this video till the end so you don't miss out on anything. Now just sit back, relax, and enjoy. The movie starts when the hobbit Bilbo Baggins starts writing a letter to his nephew Frodo, explaining in detail the truth of an adventure he went on 60 years ago. The storyline of Baggins' letter takes us back into time to a beautiful, prosperous town called Dale. Right behind the town and buried deep into the mountain was the kingdom of the Dwarf King. The king had everything, from heirs to secure his bloodline to an endless supply of gold that his workers dug from under the mountain. There he found the heart of the mountain, the Arkenstone. But as the kingdom grew in wealth, his kindness faded away, causing them to sever their ties with the elves, who were long-term allies to them. The power and greed were also driving the king to the brink of madness, but still, all was good under his rule until one fateful day when dry, warm air approached the kingdom, followed by a dragon who raged fire and destroyed everything. The Arkstone was lost under the Sea of Gold, and the dwarves were forced to leave. Outside, King Th3r's grandson sees the elves arrive at the hillside, but when no help comes from them, he begins to hate them. Robbed of their home, the dwarves continued to wander the world led by their dwarf prince and settled down somewhere else. Fast forward to the future. We see 50-year-old Bilbo is greeted by a wizard named Gandalf the Grey. He tries to engage Bilbo in a conversation, but Bilbo politely dismisses him and enters his house. He hears a scraping noise on his door and gets scared that the wizard might come in. That night, Bilbo was eating his dinner when a knock at the door interrupted him. When he opens the door, a stranger barged into his house acting friendly. He could only watch as the stranger finishes his dinner. Before he knows it, dwarves upon dwarves arrived at his house. They raided his kitchen. No matter how many times Bilbo tried explaining that they might have the wrong house, no one listened. Another knock came, and this time it was the wizard. The dinner was chaos and everyone was enjoying it except for Bilbo. He was confused, but at this point, he couldn't really fight anyone. As the others had finished their dinner, another knock sounded. This time, everyone watched in anticipation as Thorin, Th3r's grandson, walked in. The conversation after that takes a serious turn as we find out that Thorin and 12 of his companions are setting out on a journey to reclaim their lost home. But to do so, they would need a burglar who could sneak near the dragon without making any noise, and Gandalf chooses Bilbo for the task. Gandalf wanted to recruit Bilbo into their team, but Bilbo was hesitant at first and outright denied the offer when he heard about the terms and conditions. Gandalf tries to convince him, but Bilbo is unwilling. The next morning, Bilbo wakes up and finds himself alone in the house and realizes that the dwarves had left without him. He rushes to follow them. Together, the team set out without stopping until it was nightfall. They set up a camp and rest for the night. That night, they hear a strange noise coming from the forest. When Bilbo inquires about it, two dwarves jokingly say that it's the orcs. While they were only joking, the very mention of orcs startled Thorin from his sleep. An older dwarf tells him that Thorin once had to fight in a battle to save their new home from the orcs. A pale orc, who was the nemesis of his grandfather, beheaded the king, and seeing his grandfather's death, Thorin's father went mad and disappeared. After that, Thorin took over the battle, cut off the orc's hand, and they won the battle, only to find out that there were only a few of them left. The scene moves, and we see some creatures watching them from afar, ordering someone to inform their leader that they had found the dwarf scum. The team continues their journey, traveling far and beyond, talking as they go. The dwarves ask Gandalf if there are 5 guardians like him, one of them Radagast, who prefers the company of plants and animals. In a dense forest somewhere, we see a dwarf frantically checking the plants as all species of animals lay dead on the forest floor. He concludes that something very dark is poisoning the forest. He sees a porcupine struggling to stay alive and tries to save him, but suddenly, something lands on top of his house. More such shadows follow, and he stays quiet until they leave. Realizing he can't do this alone, he sets out on his journey to find Gandalf. After a long journey, the group decides to rest near the ruins of a house. Gandalf is concerned about something, and he asks Thorin to take shelter in the nearby Elvish kingdom, but Thorin is still bitter about the elves abandoning them and refuses to have anything to do with them. Gandalf leaves in frustration. Later, Bilbo is tasked to deliver food to the dwarves who are looking after their ponies, but when he arrives, they realize that some of their ponies are missing. Hearing a sound in the distance, they follow and come across 3 mountain trolls. The 2 dwarves encourage Bilbo to go alone since he was a hobbit, but as soon as they push him forward, they disappear. Bilbo finds some courage and sneakily tries to free the ponies, but when a troll reaches back to get his handkerchief, he accidentally grabs Bilbo instead. Just as the trolls were about to kill Bilbo, the rest of the group arrives and fights them, but they were outnumbered and defeated. The trolls rolled up many dwarves to cook them and tied down the rest of them. Bilbo tried to distract the trolls and play for time when he sees Gandalf sneaking behind the trolls. He told them that these dwarves have parasites and that they were not fit for eating, but the troll caught on to his plan and was ready to attack him. When Gandalf appeared on top of a big rock and split it in half, the sunlight turned the trolls into stone. The group raided the trolls' cave where they found numerous items including gold and elven swords. Gandalf and Thorin kept 1 sword each, and Gandalf gifted Bilbo a dagger that would glow when danger was near. They were ready to start their journey again when they found out that all of their ponies were gone. They were traveling on foot when a carriage pulled by rabbits stopped in front of them. Radagast had found them. He tells Gandalf about his visit to the abandoned manor where he encountered a spirit and saw a necromancer. But before they could discuss more, the distant roar of the orcs sounded and they were attacked seconds later. Radagast offered to bait the wolves to follow him so they could all run. He assures them that these animals could never outrun his pack of Ruskyball rabbits. Radagast takes them far away as the group follows Gandalf's lead, but soon they are discovered and hunted. Gandalf was trying to find an opening with no luck. Just when things looked bad for the team, he found it. Moments later, they saw a group of elves slaughter the pack of wolves. The cave they were in led them straight to the Elvish kingdom. Thorin is disgruntled and accuses Gandalf of having planned this, but Gandalf simply says that it's very important if they want to find out what the secret writing on the map is. The Elven King welcomes Gandalf warmly and immediately recognizes Thorin, and though he keeps a cold attitude towards the elves, he still follows what Gandalf says. At dinner, Gandalf shows off his sword to the king, who is astonished that they found such fine weapons. The same night, Gandalf asks the king to read the map for him, as it was written in an ancient language that only he can read. The writing on the map would only be visible when the moon was in a certain spot. Fortunately, that night, the moon was exactly the same. The writing appeared in blue and said that if they stand at a certain spot on the Duran's day, that setting sun would shine upon the door and reveal the keyhole. When the king realizes that they were planning on getting back their kingdom, he warns them against it and leaves. Among the ruins of a fortress, a pale orc becomes furious to learn that they had Thorin and kills the messenger. He then sends out the news that there's a bounty on Thorin's head. The dwarves are provided with the best of services and enjoy their stay, especially Bilbo, who was mesmerized by the beauty of the kingdom. That night, Gandalf and the king were talking about the absurd mission that Gandalf was trying to pull when both Thorin and Bilbo heard him. To convince Gandalf to leave the mission, the king invites a few acquaintances who express the same opinion as the king. But he tells them all about the odd things that have been happening, an evil power, but everyone dismisses his excuses for the lack of evidence. As a last attempt to convince them, he pulls out a sword that he had found in the troll's grave. It belonged to a very important warrior and was buried with them. To find it out in the open was not a good sign. He talked about a wizard named Solomon, but no one was willing to believe him. He had made his mind to leave, but an attendant comes rushing in, informing him that all the dwarves had disappeared. The dwarves had started their journey without Gandalf because Thorin was convinced Gandalf won't return to them. Halfway through crossing a mountain in a thunderstorm, they get stuck between the battle of 2 rock colossals and barely manage to escape. When Thorin had to save Bilbo again, he snaps at him, saying he should have never come with them, that he was a burden, and he didn't belong with them. Saddened after hearing that, Bilbo decides to leave quietly that night, but one of the dwarves stops him. As they're arguing, Bilbo's blade turns blue, indicating danger is near. Seconds later, the ground of the cave opened up and they all fell in. They had been captured by the goblins who had a whole city built underneath that cave. While they are capturing everyone, Bilbo slowly manages to slip away from them. He tries to follow them, but is attacked by a goblin, and while fighting, both he and the goblin fall into the dark void underneath them. The rest of the group is taken to the Great Goblin, who accuses them of spying on them, but when he sees Thorin, he recognizes him and sends a letter to the Pale Orc saying that he has what he was looking for. Down in the void, Bilbo wakes up to a creature named Gollum dragging away the body of the goblin he had fell along with. But the goblin suddenly wakes up and they start to fight. Gollum accidentally drops a ring that Bilbo finds and decides to keep. Stuck with no way out, Bilbo convinces Gollum to play a riddle match with him. If Bilbo wins, Gollum would show him the way out, but if Gollum won, he would eat Bilbo, for he had never tasted hobbit's meat. The match is tied, but for the final question, Bilbo asks Gollum to name the thing that Bilbo has in his pocket. Gollum fails to guess the answer even after 3 chances. Bilbo asks him to keep the deal and show him the way out, but he changes his mind and searches in his pocket. Gollum starts panicking when he realizes that he had lost his ring. Bilbo sneakily takes out the ring, and Gollum suddenly understood why Bilbo had asked him the last question. It's because he had Gollum's ring. Gollum chases Bilbo around the cave, and Bilbo barely manages to escape. But in all his struggle to get away, the ring is tossed into the air, and when he goes to snatch it back, it slides onto his finger. Seconds later, Gollum comes out, but he can't find Bilbo, even though he's right in front of him. Bilbo was invisible. Back in Goblin City, the dwarves are saved by Gandalf. They kill goblins as they go, but it proves difficult since the whole city was filled with them. On the bridge, the Great Goblin blocks their way, and Gandalf kills him very easily. But then the bridge they were standing on breaks, and they all go plummeting towards the ground. The bridge hit the ground, and seconds later, the Great Goblin's body fell on top of them. To make matters worse, they looked up to see all the goblins of the city rushing towards them. Gandalf leads them further into the cave, and we see them pass by Bilbo, who was still invisible. Bilbo couldn't follow them since Gollum was still there. He decided to kill him, but couldn't do it. In the end, he jumped over Gollum and out of the cave, leaving Gollum screeching behind him. Outside, Gandalf realizes that Bilbo was missing, and Thorin was quick to comment that he saw his opportunity and left. Though Bilbo was hurt by his words, he decided he wouldn't leave. Gandalf sees Bilbo hide his ring but doesn't comment on it. But they had no time for relief because far in the distance the cry of an orc sounded and they made a run for it only to come to a dead end. They were attacked and outnumbered and had no choice but to climb a tree and hope that the wolves couldn't reach them. The pale orc appeared and mocked Thorin before ordering his orcs to kill them. Under the constant pressure of the wolves, the trees they were on started to uproot. Now, they were all stuck on the last tree, and the wolves were still advancing. Gandalf took the fruits on the tree and lit them on fire, throwing them to keep the wolves away from the tree. Soon, the whole area was blazing, and the last tree was giving out under them. When the pale orc continued to degrade Thorin, he couldn't take it anymore and he went to attack him. He was quickly defeated, and the pale orc was about to behead him when Bilbo rushed in and threw himself at the executioner, knocking him off his feet. Several of the dwarves rushed in, and Thorin lost consciousness. The battle was a losing one, but just when all hopes were lost, a group of giant flying pigeons that Gandalf had called for arrived to save them. They held everyone on their back and flew away over the misty mountains into the Greenland. They dropped everyone off at the mountain peak. Thorin woke up and apologized for doubting Bilbo and hugs him. That's when he sees something that stuns him. In the far distance, a lonely mountain was visible. It was their homeland. They could finally see it. Gandalf sees a thrush bird that was heading for the mountains and suggested they hurry along their journey before summer passes. In the last scene, we see the thrush bird repeatedly knocking an acorn on the wall of the mountain. Inside the mountain, buried among the heaps of gold, golden eyes open. The dragon was awake. The movie comes to an end, but their adventure had only just begun. That was it for today, guys. We hope you enjoyed the video. What are your thoughts about this movie? Would you watch it? Have a movie you want us to recap? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this.